So we'll go to the next identity, which is about gender. So when we talk about gender identities, we're talking about being born as a man or a woman. So that's what gender identity is. So Cornell et al. In 1987 argued that we are not born a man or a woman, really. We become men and women through the social construction of gender identities. In other words, while biological gender refers to the physical characteristics that cause people to be labeled male or female, gender refers to the social characteristics given to each gender. Lips in 1993 argued that differences in male and female identities do not occur naturally from biological differences. Gender identities differ historically and cross-culturally, which means that they are both learned and relative. So Cornell suggests that there are two forms of dominant gender identity. So before we go into Cornell, according to Cornell, before we go into his suggestion, he felt that people were not born as man or woman. It means we develop to become a man and a woman based on social construction. That is the point I'm making. I want to talk about social construction. We're talking about the way the society is being built. So the society it was built, and we become what we become in that society. So we have the hegemonic masculinity, where traditional forms of masculinity are based on a variety of physical and mental characteristics. For example, men are encouraged to adopt a particular body shape that ideally emphasizes physical strength. Mental characteristics include idea about men as leaders, providers, being unemotional, rational, calm, cool, and so on. So this is hegemonic, which means you have to portray the look of a man, both in physique, your IQ, things you do, and the way. That is hegemonic. Do you understand? So that's hegemonic. That means you become a man because you portray all those features of a man. That's the point there. Then we have the emphasized femininity, which relates to the idea that female identities were traditionally defined by how they could accommodate the interests and needs of men. So the dominant identity was one that merged and complemented hegemonic masculinity. Women were regarded as essentially passive, emotional beings whose identity was expressed in the service of others. For Kitchen in 2006 called this a complicit femininity because it is defined by male needs and desires. So for Cornell, he emphasized that he felt that women comes to emphasis on femininity, which means you are being defined based on the opposite situations of the male. You are emotional, you are attached to things, you are not supposed, you don't have the physical ability to do certain things. So that is the definition of femininity. So according to Cornell. So now we have to go to, I think you understand what Cornell is talking about. He doesn't see the man in man. He sees the man if he has certain features. Yeah. And he doesn't see the woman in woman. He sees the woman when she is unable to have certain features that a man has. Mm-hmm. I think you got the point there, okay? So now we go to male identities. Although hegemonic masculinity is dominant, alternative masculinities exist. Shell suggests that following forms of masculinity, we have the subordinate masculinities, which are generally seen as lesser forms of masculinity, particularly for men who are unable or unwilling to perform hegemonic masculinity, such as those with physical disabilities. So now, part of the male identities, we have the subordinate masculinities, which are those that could not really do what those that have the physique to do. So maybe they have disability, so they cannot actually do those things that hegemonic masculinity will do. So we call them subordinate masculinities. I think you get the point there. Then we have the subversive masculinities, which involve an alternative masculinity that challenges undermines hegemonic masculinity. An example here might be a serious student who works hard at school rather than being part of a gang that is disruptive in the class. So here, when you look at part of the gang that is disruptive in the class, you're like, yeah, that's the man in us. Yeah. So we have to prove that we are guys. Yes. So, but for this group of people, they are subversive because they question that hegemonic masculinity. They question that, no, this is not supposed, they challenge it. Mm-hmm. So they feel it is not right to do. So these guys, they are guys too, but that group of guys that do not conform, they challenge them. Do you get the point or not? We call them subversive because they challenge hegemonic. Mm-hmm. Hegemonic guys are guys that have the physique and they have that strong. They are irrational. They do things at will because they are men. Mm-hmm. So they are making an example about subversive here, which is men that are men also, but they don't use their own physicality to cause chaos. Rather, they use it to put the society into conformity.
So like toxic masculinity.
Do you understand? So they challenge, they question hegemonic masculinity in people. So they made the example of a serious student here. If you are a serious student, it means you are hardworking. So being intelligent is real hard work. And it shows that you are you're man enough to. But you being intelligent, instead of you to be hegemonic, you become subversive because you don't want to use your strength to be irrational. Do you understand? So being part of the gang makes you to be hegemonic because you think you have the physique to do that. But for him, he doesn't want to do that. He challenges those doing that. That is subversive. I think it's clear. So then we have the complicit masculinities, which refers to newly feminized masculinities, such as the new man, men who combine paid work with their share of unpaid housework and childcare, taking on aspect of the traditional feminine role. This type of masculinity sees women as equal and the cause. Cornell argued that because as women have become more powerful, male identities have begun to change. So we call them complicit masculinities because they do domestics too. They take care of child, they do chores, out chores too. So they are complicit. So they combine both masculinity and feminine duties. They combine them together. So they are called complicit. It refers to as complicit masculinity. Do you get complicit here? So then we have the marginalized one, which refers to men who feel they have been pushed to the margins of family life due to long-term unemployment. For example, they no longer feel able to perform what they see as the traditional masculine roles of money earner and family provider. So the marginalized ones are those people that they feel they are unable to continue the male role, the masculine role. So they felt the society has pushed them to a situation that has pushed them to a point that they can no longer perform as a man. So they are called marginalized men. Do you understand? Do you understand marginalized here? Any question about marginalized? So we have hegemonic, we have complicit, we have marginalized. What else do we have there? No, we have no, we have the emphasized femininity. We have it. No, we have subversive masculinity, which are those that challenges or questions hegemonic masculinity. Yeah. So that's about male masculinity. Do we have any other one there? So we have female identities now. Female, are you there? So Anna Oakley suggests that female identities were shaped in childhood. Girls and boys are socialized differently into gender roles that involve gender identity.